You go where you're going, you'll pass. They're not turning people back. It's just going to be slowing you down. But there's no traffic today in many parts of the roads in the city.
Spice and everything nice. All right.
Spice up your life. Mature, intelligent talk every morning. Spice up yourself. Mornings done right. 94.4 Spice FM, Nairobi.
We continue our conversation for the next 22 minutes with the Honorable Tito Kesora, who is the Chief Magistrate at Makadara Law Courts, and the Honorable Mudhoni Njage, Principal Magistrate and Chief and National Coordinator of the Community Series Orders. City?
Mm-hmm. When people get arrested for whatever offense, I'm speaking anecdotally here, there are times one gets the impression that there are certain offenses that wait for certain days, like Friday. And there are certain arrests that wait for a certain time, like 2 p.m. Because the window to comply with the requirements of the court are then significantly reduced. For instance, if by the time you're arrested and processed, by the time you get before the magistrate, it's heading towards 4 o'clock. And if something is required of you, whether it's a bond, these legal requirements, and if it does require you to produce either some money or you're supposed to require to produce something of value, and you aren't walking with it or you don't have it on your person, it then becomes rather tricky for you to comply.
Mm-hmm.
How does one deal with this? I said, as a disclaimer, I'm speaking anecdotally. It's not as though this is planned. I'm just saying it appears that way.
It's just an observation.
It's an observation, yes. And not a very keen observation, just a general observation.
Our institutions are independent institutions. Courts are independent with a specific mandate. Police have got their own mandate under the law. The Director of Public Prosecution has also his independence. So they decide. We wait. We do not say, okay, now bring these kind of things on a Friday afternoon only. We don't say that. The discretion when and where to charge remains with the relevant institutions. Yeah. Ours is restricted to waiting and hearing and determining on the basis of evidence whether this was right or not in the first place.
Do your stations, do the registries close, the bail and bond registries? Because then if someone has come to court and let's say they've gone before the judicial officer at 3 p.m. and you've told me, release me on a bond of 1 million shillings and a surety of a similar amount. Now I have to first of all look for the million bob. And then I need to be in contact with somebody to be my surety. And all these things will take time. Will I go to the registry and be told, by the way, boss, walienda kitambo, kuja kesho? Does it happen?
Ideally, it should not. We close our registries at 5 p.m., even on a Friday. But there are instances where you're not processed in time. That's the truth. For example, if you're brought into court at 4 and 5 o'clock reaches, honestly, you may not be processed in time. And sometimes I would call it systemic challenges. Yes, those ones are there. But ideally, we close our registries at 5. Yes, whether Monday to Friday.
What do the guidelines say? Should this not be open? Should it not be extended?
24/7?
You mean 24/7?
Yes.
No.
Look, justice does not have hours. And this is all in the interest of ensuring that you're delivering justice. So if, for example, a judicial officer has said, I give you bond of this amount, then it's in the furtherance of me getting justice that you also allow me to be able to perform here.
There are court times. Registry is open at 8 a.m.,
Okay.
close at 5.
Why?
That's a set time.
It's a set, and we are the same. These offices are run by staff,
Yeah.
including us. We
So
also
even
staff
police
of the
have,
judiciary.
police are on 24 hours.
Yes, police are
Yeah,
on
police
24
are on
hours.
24 hours.
A time will come, and this idea has been mooted where we can have courts that run on 24-hour basis, even at night. And they have not quite, especially, I think there was a thought that JKIA court could be open because of passengers who are on transit. Maybe they are foreigners, they're on transit, a crime has been committed.
Yep.
So there is that thought, yes. But for the regular ones, like Makadara, Milimani, where it's Kawaida, the Kawaida courts, time is 8 to 5.
Or at
to
least
5.
just extend the time to 8 p.m. or something for this particular registries.
So look at it this way, Eric.
Okay.
You have got, this is an ecosystem,
Yes.
all right? You have got courts, you've got prison.
Yeah.
If the prisons have got time within which they must count their
And
lockdown
receive remandees.
and receive the remandees,
Yeah.
all right? If you don't do that, then it will spoil eating time, right?
Yep.
Remandees have to be fed.
Yep.
So if you disrupt that ecosystem, then you have a problem.
But police stations have holding facilities.
They have cells.
Yes.
Yes.
Some courts have holding facilities.
No.
No, they are.
We
they
have
are
just
manned.
got
That's
holding
temporary.
cells, temporary holding
Temporary.
cells while the case is going on.
Now, this is wonderful. What stops courts from actually having cells where people can spend the night? I'm venturing. This is not something that... You see, I'm asking the question that if you can't open an entire court like, say, the Madaraka...
Makadara.
Makadara.
What do I call it?
Madaraka.
The other place.
Makadara, this one, Makadara. Is that one. The one I went to is Makadara. Okay, that one. Is it then possible to have a unit, for instance, that deals with cases that are late, or certain police facilities that then deal with certain cases? Because, again, it is clear that the process of arresting people does not have a timetable. The process of getting people to court is the one which has a timetable and a time. Because crime doesn't have a timetable that this crime will be committed at this time. So you're ready to commit and take to court. When it happens, those who are in charge of ensuring security do their thing, and they also go through the processes. I'm simply asking this. What threshold would we need to have in order for considerations to be made to go beyond what we now call the normal and regular times?
You are likely to interfere with institutional mandates. So courts will be there to not to hold people because they're not trained for that, they're not mandated for that, right? So if you say that you have facilities where people can sleep in court, then you will interfere with the institutional mandates.
Police stations that cater for this? Is it possible?
Yes, but you see, like prisons are more, trained and set for that.
They're the ones that are set for that.
Yes.
Honorable Gesora, you'll soon be a judge. And then you'll also sit in the JSC.
And as things go, you may even end up in the appellate court and become a Supreme Court judge.
Yes.
Anyway, continue, Eric.
The National Council on the Administration of Justice brings all these institutions together.
Yes.
All right?
Yes.
So that we can make sure that there's justice being served on all, and all institutions are then playing that game. This is a conversation that can happen at the NCAJ and say, so you prisons, if there are people who are still in a court station, and your officers are the ones that are at the court station, they're the ones who are going to bring those people who need to be remanded, can keep your kitchen open until 9. You courts, you can keep the registry open until 8. All these things just to make sure that you're giving people that time. This is why I'm asking this, because I've heard very many times complaints of especially petty offenders who've gone to court and you have been slapped with a cash bail of 25,000 shillings. This person, mbele na nyuma, to quote the deputy president, hata ukitutoa guo utupige, they will not get that money. Not at that point. But they could try and raise it. So first of all, there's just allowing them that time, either to try and raise it, and then they walk home, because this is a mother who has children at home. This is a father who has children at home, and the mother works night shift. You know, all these kind of dynamics. You're disrupting a homestead and a secure family system because we have to close at 5.
I can tell you that when Honorable Chief Justice Mutunga was the Chief Justice, policy was formulated and brought and said that when a person has been charged and they given a cash bail, give them time to pay before you take them to custody. So they are given time, and if they want to sit somewhere in a corner of a court and make a quiet call for help, they should be allowed to do that.
Are they allowed to do that?
They are allowed to do that. So we tell them, let's say if it's a traffic offense, don't take to people if they are able to pay. In fact, if they are able to pay, they are not taken to the cells. You are given a chance and told, okay, you have the money, pay and go. So you're not taken to custody. Going to custody is a last resort when the prison van has to leave in the evening at 5 and you have not been able to pay. We have no facilities to keep you here. Then we hand you over to the prison.
Prisons.
But during the day, if the plea was read in the morning at 9 a.m., you are given a chance throughout this day to see whether you can be able to pay.
Okay.
Yes.
If you get into that prison van
Yes.
and you go to the remand prison,
Yes.
okay, because you have not paid, but you're in the, in the kisha tu hivi, then what happens tomorrow? How do you?
So to
It's also, if you pay, we ensure the money has come, we write what you call a release order. We give an order to...
Who is paying? Who is handling my payment? I'm in industry area.
If you have relatives...
In Melala industry area.
If you have relatives and they have paid, or you have somehow contacted a friend who has paid for you, we will prepare the release order. You will be given, your friend will be given the release order. He will come to the gate of the prison and tell them, here's the release order for City. Please give him to me.
And he's released. Within the timelines.
Okay. I think let me come to you, Honorable Njage, because now this is where we are looking at petty offences, whether people are being committed to community service or whether they are, being taken to prison.
Yeah.
But this is community service comes at the end of a conviction and sentencing, right? This is a petty offender who did something, will be considered petty. In the end, the punishment will be go and slash grass around the Makadara law courts.
Yeah.
But during this other time, the discretion of the judicial officer was, I give you bond of 10,000 shillings and a surety of similar amount. And this person is not able to raise 10,000 shillings. Where is justice here? How do we ensure that this person is not being slapped with something that they cannot really afford?
So there's also a bond review process, by the way. So if a person has stayed in custody for some time, usually if you're in custody, we mention matters every 2 weeks, whether in prison or in court. So every 2 weeks, a remandee must be produced before a magistrate. So at that point, usually, they apply for revision of bond. And of course, the magistrate can use their discretion and review it. Sometimes you need a bail report, pre-bail report, which is written by probation officers, and to list that this person, what my colleague had mentioned, that he comes from this place, we're able to trace him, he's able to come to court, the bond will be reviewed. In a scenario also where a person, when they are first brought to court, they plead guilty, there and then, of course, they'll be sentenced, and sometimes they're sentenced to serve community service for 1, 2 days, 3 days. They serve their time and they go away. So there's just... What do I say? The justice wheel is really, there's a spectrum that we are not able to say that these particular cases are the ones that go this way and these others are the ones that are determined this way. There's just a spectrum, depending. For many petty offenders, the bond terms are, lower, more lenient than for serious offenses. For example, you can't compare the bond terms of a person who's charged with creating disturbance. You know, he just yelled around and called people bad names. You can't compare the bond terms for that person with someone who is charged with murder or with defilement. Yeah.
Or violent robbery.
Or violent robbery, for that matter, or terrorism.
Yes.
Yeah. So for petty offenders, generally, we are more lenient, and that's guided in the law, and which is
but
different from...
There's something
determines
called, there's
lenient?
something called
The lenience is
reasonableness and proportion.
and it is determined by the judicial officer.
Okay.
Yes, it's a discretionary
I am
judicial
sure
role.
that both of you have had very many cases of complaints
Yes.
of unreasonable bail and bond terms.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm sure you've had it. And even you, when you listen, you're like, "Enye apo, it's a bit too much." How do we address this? Because every one person, there's a case I remember we mentioned here a couple of years back of a lady in Thika who, and it was in the papers, stepped out of the house during COVID. There's a place where they go and dump. Stepped out of the house, went to what they consider the community dump site. Caught there by Kanjo. You're not supposed to be dumping here. Taken to court the following morning. Slapped with, I think, a 25,000 shilling. Is it something like a cash or bond? Left her children at home that night. Cannot raise this money the following morning. You'll ask yourself, okay, so what's the purpose here? Is the purpose to punish?
Absolutely not. The purpose is to punish. Like we said right from the beginning, the purpose is to ensure that if you grant your bail, you will come back. It's to assure you that you will come back.
Yeah.
And there is a process of reviews. You can ask for a review, right? But you see, you have to consider the seriousness of the offense that has been charged. You consider the seriousness of the offense that has been charged, the likely punishment that this person is likely to get if found guilty. That will inform you whether it should be more or less. And if they say that, even if the offense is serious, and they say, I'm the sole breadwinner, I have children to take care of, please consider, I will quickly dispatch. Sometimes we can even put pressure on the probation officer. Say, please, I want this report this afternoon or in 2 days, right? We can put pressure on them to ensure that the report has come so that this person's children don't suffer. He said that in that case, you said that I have left my children all by themselves. Most courts will order the children officer. Yeah, we've got the children's department. Children's officer for the area, go to the house of this lady and ensure that the children are taken care of.
Okay. We have this remand prison. It's called remand prison, isn't it? And many people who are told by people who sat on these seats tend to be petty offenders. And a good number of people who are there are forgotten, meaning you were taken there for something or the other. This process that we're talking of, someone didn't come up, you didn't raise the money, so you're taken back there. Now, many of these people can't raise, or the people they know also can't raise, or maybe what they were involved in, the people they know are afraid to bring themselves in because they themselves may get themselves incarcerated. According to what we have been told, there are very many citizens who languish in prisons, and the matters that have kept them there never seem to be resolved. Do we have situations where these things are reviewed? Because we hear of Kenyans who are lost. You can't find them. Some of them may probably be in remand, or maybe who were taken to, and somebody forgot, and that was it. I know this used to happen in the days when people were detained. It is said you're a threat, you're detained. The threat goes, but people forget that you actually detained. Why? Because I'm simply saying, do we have a review process where we determine that those who have been incarcerated are actually there for the right reason and they ought to be there?
Two things I'll tell you about that.
Yes.
First of all, is that our prison system, I have not seen a more meticulous institution in terms of documentation like the prisons. They know everything. They are kept. And like we've said, there's like on Monday, coming Monday, the Chief Justice is going to the Nairobi remand to launch a process, a program for reviewing bail and bond terms, especially for petty offenders. And this is going to be something that's going to be happening periodically. We sit in a committee that has recommended that we do this on a quarterly basis. Policy is yet to be formulated on that, but we have set our recommendation. And so the Chief Justice will be there on Monday to launch that
So
program.
it's just to kickstart this.
To kickstart.
To
A
kickstart.
review
Yes,
of the
yes.
current
Yes.
bail and
Yes,
bond
yes,
terms
yes.
guidelines.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she starts there, but the thing is going to cascade and go to the rest of the country.
And maybe just to add to what Chief is saying is that really what has informed that is just the congestion in prison. So the Chief Justice found it fit within her blueprint to just come and like an intervening, do I call it an intervening measure?
Yep.
Just to come and just see what is happening in remand. And what has happened is that we have lists of the petty offenders who are remanded, especially in industrial area, Langata and there's Nairobi West. And that would be like let me call it a pilot.
Kumbe, you
So-
guys are in that committee,
Yeah.
the one that we're talking about, the one that can make. So one of the recommendations here, public participation, open the registry until midnight. People will not end up going to congest in that area.
Or better still, open the
particularly
register, let people know the names so that people who are claiming relatives, you know the ones who got lost and you
Well,
don't know where they
no.
went. Okay? Is it possible for that to happen? Just asking.
So they just give
We
people more time.
we can recommend, and policy decisions will make
Yes.
made at the appropriate level.
Yes.
The appropriate level, yeah.
But asante sana for coming.
Thank you very much.
Please come
for
again
having us.
and let's keep talking about this.
Thank
It's
you very
important.
much for
Thank
having
you
us.
very much for having us.
The Honorable Chito Kesora is the Chief Magistrate at the Makadara Law Courts, the busiest law courts
In East and Central Africa.
Yeah, including the Central African Republic. And the Honorable Modoni Jage,
Spice up your life.
coordinator at the Community Service Orders, 8 a.m.